The cowboy was left to raise his brother's children until she arrived with warm bread and a smile. Jace Thorne sat on the porch of the small, weathered homestead, watching the twin suns of the distant planet dip toward the horizon. Dust swirled gently over the red plains, painting the air with a warm orange glow. He breathed in slowly, letting the familiar smell of dry soil, metal, and wood fill his lungs. The homestead was quiet, except for the soft chatter of his three children playing near the edge of the garden. It had been 6 months since the accident took his brother, leaving Jace with a responsibility he had never imagined. Raising children was not part of the cowboy's life he had known. Out here, survival was simple. You worked hard, you fixed what was broken, and you moved on. But now, little voices tugged at him constantly, each day presenting new challenges he had no idea how to meet. "Daddy, can we make cookies today?" his youngest, Lily, asked, bouncing on her toes with wide, hopeful eyes. Jace rubbed his neck, trying to hide the fatigue that weighed on him. "Cookies, maybe tomorrow, Pumpkin. We have too much work today." Lily's face fell for a moment before she scampered off to play with her older siblings, Max and Ella. Jace watched them, heart heavy and proud all at once. They were resilient just like him, but he knew he couldn't let his exhaustion show too much. The children needed hope. They needed stability, and somehow he had to find a way to provide it. The day had started like any other. Jace had risen before the suns, checking the solar panels and water filtration system that kept the homestead running. Then came the long hours of tending the crops, repairing broken fences, and teaching the children lessons on basic survival. It was exhausting work, but he had learned that the children loved routine. A simple task could become an adventure with the right story, and Jace had become a master storyteller out of necessity. He wiped his hands on his worn pants and called out to Max. "Hey, take care of the carrots, will you? Watch the row near the stream. It's getting weak." Max, who was 10 and the oldest, nodded seriously. "Yes, Dad, I'll check them carefully." Ella, who was 8, came running up with a small bouquet of wildflowers. "Daddy, look, I picked these for you." Jace smiled, crouching to take them. The bright colors were a sharp contrast to the dusty landscape, and the simple gift warmed him more than words could express. "Thank you, sweetheart. These are beautiful." He placed the flowers on the wooden table outside and leaned back, feeling the weight of the day pressing against his shoulders. He had been strong before, a cowboy who rode across rough terrain without fear. But this was different. Raising 3 children alone demanded patience, creativity, and constant energy. As he sipped water from a tin cup, he noticed something unusual. At the edge of the plain, near the small cluster of newly built colony homes, a figure appeared. She walked steadily, carrying a basket, her posture calm and assured. The suns glinted off her hair, and for a moment she seemed almost ethereal, like a beacon in the dusty light. Jace's brow furrowed. He didn't recognize her. Settlers often came and went, but something about her movement, careful yet deliberate, made him pause. The children noticed too, stopping their play and pointing. "Who is she, Dad?" Ella asked, tugging on his sleeve. Jace shrugged, squinting against the sun. "Not sure, Pumpkin." "Let's wait and see." The figure approached the homestead slowly. As she drew closer, Jace could see a gentle smile playing on her lips, and the basket in her hands emitted a delicious aroma of baked bread. Fresh bread. His stomach growled, reminding him that he hadn't eaten anything substantial since early morning. When she finally reached the porch, she lifted the basket slightly and spoke in a warm, melodic voice. "Hello there. I baked more than I could carry, and I thought maybe your family could use some." Jace blinked, momentarily at a loss for words. Hospitality wasn't unusual among settlers, but the warmth in her eyes, the simplicity of the gesture, it felt like a small miracle after months of endless chores and lonely nights. Thank you," he stammered, glancing at the children. Their eyes widened in amazement. Bread. Real, soft, warm bread. It was a luxury they hadn't enjoyed in weeks. The woman chuckled softly. "I'm Amara. I just moved in on the other side of the colony. I thought it might be nice to meet the neighbors." Jace nodded, suddenly conscious of his rough appearance. Dust-covered boots, grease-stained shirt, sunburned face. He looked like a man who had wrestled the planet's red plains every day. And yet, she smiled anyway. "Come on in," he said, stepping aside. The children rushed forward, practically vibrating with excitement. Lily reached for the bread first, her small hands brushing against the warm crust. "Thank you, Miss Amara," she squealed. Amara knelt to their level. "You're welcome, little one. I thought everyone could use a treat after such a long day." Jace watched her carefully. There was something about the way she moved, the calm assurance in her voice, that made him wonder how she managed life on this harsh planet. He had learned the hard way that survival here required not just strength, but intelligence, patience, and a certain amount of creativity. Could she have all three? Amara noticed his gaze and smiled knowingly. "I know life can be challenging out here. I've had my share of struggles too." Jace nodded, feeling a flicker of relief. It was rare to find someone who understood. "It's different than what I expected," he admitted. "I've always been used to riding alone, fixing things on my own. Raising 3 kids, it's a lot." She handed him a slice of bread, and he took it gratefully. The first bite was soft, slightly sweet, and comforting in a way he hadn't realized he needed. It was a reminder of simpler pleasures, of human kindness, and of the unexpected moments that made life worth living. "You're doing well," she said softly. "Your brother would be proud." Jace felt a lump form in his throat. Pride wasn't something he usually sought, but coming from a stranger it carried weight. He nodded, swallowing hard. "Thanks, that means a lot." The sun sank lower, painting the plains in shades of deep red and gold. The children laughed and played, crumbs of bread clinging to their fingers, while Jace and Amara spoke quietly on the porch. She offered small tips about gardening in dry soil, conserving water, and even making simple toys from scrap materials. Every word she spoke carried practicality and kindness, and Jace felt a spark of hope he hadn't felt in months. As night fell, Amara finally rose to leave. "I'll see you tomorrow," she said, giving him a small wave. "Maybe we can try that new irrigation system I mentioned." Jace watched her walk back across the plains, the basket now empty but her presence lingering. For the first time in a long while, he felt something other than exhaustion and responsibility. He felt possibility. He turned back to the children who were giggling and sharing their bread. "Tomorrow," he said with a small smile, "we're going to try something new. Who's ready?" Max and Ella cheered, Lily clapped, and Jace felt a warmth in his chest. It wasn't just the bread, it was the reminder that life could be better. That help could arrive in the most unexpected ways, that even a cowboy alone on a distant planet could find a spark of connection. As the stars began to shine above the twin suns' fading light, Jace leaned back on the porch, thinking about tomorrow. He didn't know exactly what the future held, but for the first time in a long time, he looked forward to it. The next morning, the twin suns rose over the red plains, painting the homestead in soft golden light. Jace Thorne stirred awake to the sound of laughter. Lily, Max, and Ella were already in the garden, carefully tending to the rows of young crops. Jace rubbed his eyes and stretched, feeling a mix of fatigue and hope. The memory of yesterday's visitor, Amara, lingered in his mind. He stepped outside, the smell of earth and dew greeting him like an old friend. "Good morning, kids," he called. "Morning, Dad," Max replied, holding a small watering can like a tiny knight guarding his plants. Ella waved, balancing a basket of freshly picked herbs. "Look, Daddy. We've been helping the plants." Lily tugged on his sleeve. "Can we bake bread today?" she asked, her big eyes shining. Jace smiled, feeling a flicker of excitement. "Yes, yes, we can try today, but first let's finish the garden chores." The children eagerly moved to their tasks, chattering happily. Jace's heart warmed as he watched them. Their curiosity and energy reminded him why he had to keep going, why he had to learn not only to survive but to thrive. By mid-morning, Amara appeared at the edge of the garden carrying her basket again. She waved, and the children ran toward her, squealing with delight. Jace followed more slowly, still wary of strangers, though yesterday's bread and kindness had softened him. "Good morning," she said, setting the basket down. "I thought I could show you a few ways to help your crops grow better. Nothing too complicated, I promise." Jace nodded, intrigued. "All right, let's see what you've got." Amara knelt by a row of struggling carrot plants. "The soil here is dry and lacks some minerals. We can make a simple mix to feed them using what you have around the homestead." She glanced at Jace. "It's safe for the kids to help too." Max's eyes lit up. "Can we do it, Dad?" Jace shrugged, trying to hide his excitement. "Sure. Let's see what you've got, Amara." Amara smiled and began showing the children how to crush certain rocks and mix them with water to create a natural fertilizer. She explained patiently, letting the children ask questions and try small tasks themselves. Lily giggled as she accidentally spilled some mixture, and Ella carefully carried a small container of water, careful not to tip it over. Jace watched quietly, impressed by her calm teaching style. He had always been hands-on with work, but explaining things to children required patience he wasn't sure he had. Yet Amara made it look easy. After some time, the rows of carrots looked healthier already and the children beamed with pride. "See," Amara said. "Even small changes can make a big difference." Jace nodded, realizing she was right. He had spent so much time relying on sheer effort and hard work that he had almost forgotten that intelligence and creativity were just as important. Amara noticed his thoughtful look. "You've done a lot out here on your own, I can see that, but sometimes working together can make life easier." Jace smiled faintly. "I guess I've been learning that the hard way." The afternoon passed with laughter, chatter, and small discoveries. Amara showed the children how to make simple toys from scraps of metal and wood, turning leftover parts from the homestead into spinning tops and small wind chimes. The children were fascinated, and even Jace found himself captivated by her inventiveness. "You've got a gift for this," he admitted quietly. Amara shrugged. "I've had to be creative to survive out here. You learn fast when there's no one else to rely on." As the suns climbed higher, a sudden worry clouded Jace's mind. He had noticed a patch of the crop turning yellow over the past few days. The irrigation system wasn't perfect, and some plants were struggling. "We might have a problem," he said, frowning. "Some of the crops near the stream, they're not doing well." Amara looked concerned but calm. "Let's take a look. Sometimes the solution isn't obvious, but together we can figure it out." They walked to the struggling row of plants. Jace had been trying to water them regularly, but the soil was hard and dry in places. Amara knelt down and touched it gently. "The soil is compacted here," she explained. "The water isn't reaching the roots properly. We can loosen it up and create a small channel so the water flows evenly." Jace watched as she demonstrated, digging small grooves in the soil while explaining why it worked. Then the children joined in, carefully following her instructions. Jace felt a mix of pride and relief. The children were learning skills that would help them not just today, but in the future, and he realized that Amara's presence was helping all of them grow, literally and figuratively. By evening, the crops were already looking healthier, and the children were exhausted but happy. They sat together on the porch, eating slices of bread from Amara's basket, the smell of fresh earth mixing with the warm aroma of baking. Jace leaned back and watched the horizon. "You know," he said, "I never thought I'd have help like this out here. Life was hard, lonely, but today it feels better." Amara smiled warmly. "That's what people do, Jace. We help each other, especially on planets like this." Lily yawned and leaned against Jace's shoulder. "Can she stay?" she asked sleepily. Jace chuckled softly. "She can visit tomorrow, but I think she's got her own home to take care of too." Amara winked at the children. I'll see you all again soon. Maybe next time we can try baking that bread together." As night fell, Jace sat on the porch, listening to the quiet hum of the homestead. The children had gone inside to sleep, and the air was cool and still. He thought about Amara and her gentle presence. It was strange. He was used to riding alone, facing challenges without anyone to lean on. But her arrival had changed something. She had reminded him that humans were not meant to live in isolation, that cooperation and kindness could make life brighter. He also realized that raising his brother's children wasn't just a burden, it was an opportunity. Every day, he learned more about patience, creativity, and love. And now, with Amara's guidance, he could teach them skills that would serve them well in this harsh but beautiful world. The twin suns had set completely, leaving the sky a deep shade of purple, sprinkled with stars. Jace looked up, feeling a sense of hope he hadn't felt in months. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, yes, but also new possibilities. With the children by his side and Amara's guidance, he felt ready to face them. He whispered softly to the night, almost to himself, "We'll be all right. We'll find a way together." And somewhere across the plains, Amara looked up at the same stars, thinking of the small family she had met, and smiled. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring either, but for the first time, she felt that the loneliness of the frontier could be softened with friendship, warmth, and a little shared bread. As the first hints of dawn appeared on the horizon, Jace finally went inside. He didn't know how long this new chapter would last, but one thing was certain. Life out here didn't have to be lonely, not when human kindness and ingenuity could make even the harshest world feel like home. The morning sun rose slowly over the red plains, bathing the homestead in soft golden light. Jace Thorne was already awake, his hands deep in the soil, feeling the earth between his fingers. Max and Ella were nearby, carefully planting a new row of seedlings, while Lily sat under the shade of a small tree, making a crown from wildflowers. Jace wiped the sweat from his brow and glanced toward the horizon. The memory of Amara's visit yesterday still warmed him. She had shown them new ways to care for the crops, and for the first time, Jace felt that survival didn't mean facing the frontier alone. Today he hoped would bring more progress. "Dad," Max said, pointing toward the edge of the homestead, "I see someone walking here. Is it her?" Jace squinted. Sure enough, Amara was approaching, carrying her familiar basket. But today she had a small tool kit strapped to her waist. Her eyes sparkled with determination. "Good morning," she called cheerfully as she neared. "I brought some tools and a few ideas for improving the irrigation system. Shall we get started?" Jace nodded, feeling a surge of excitement. "Absolutely. The crops near the stream need help, and I could use your guidance." The children ran to greet her, chattering about yesterday's fertilizer mix and the bread they had shared. Lily's eyes widened when she saw the tools. "Can we help too?" she asked eagerly. "Of course," Amara said, smiling. "There's something for everyone to do." Together they examined the struggling crops. Jace explained the problem. Water wasn't reaching the plants evenly, and some of the soil was too compacted. Amara knelt and studied the rows carefully. "We can make small channels that guide the water from the stream to each row," she said. "And we'll use a few of these tools to loosen the soil. It will take some work, but I think we can do it." Max and Ella grabbed small shovels while Lily carried buckets of water. Jace took the larger tools, and Amara supervised, showing them how to create shallow trenches that allowed water to flow gently. Hours passed quickly. The children laughed as they worked, sometimes spilling water or dropping small tools, but Amara guided them patiently. Jace noticed how she encouraged the children's creativity. When Max suggested a way to connect two channels for better water flow, she nodded enthusiastically. "That's a great idea, let's try it." By midday, the rows of crops looked healthier. The water flowed smoothly, reaching the roots evenly. The children stood proudly, hands muddy, faces glowing with satisfaction. "See," Amara said, wiping her forehead. A little planning and teamwork can make a huge difference. Jace smiled, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. He had spent so long struggling on his own, and now he realized that collaboration didn't just make work easier, it made life more joyful. After lunch, Amara suggested something new. There's more we can do to help the plants. Some of the soil is missing nutrients that are essential for growth. We can make a natural compost using leftover plant materials and kitchen scraps. The children's eyes widened. Really? Ella asked. Yes, Amara replied. It's easy and it's safe for the environment. You'll learn a lot and the plants will thank you. They spent the afternoon collecting plant scraps, mixing them with soil and creating small compost piles. Jace watched as the children learned, realizing that these small lessons were more valuable than any tool or machine. They were learning patience, responsibility, and the joy of creating something that could grow and flourish. As the suns dipped toward the horizon, a gentle breeze carried the scent of fresh soil and growing plants. Jace leaned against the porch railing, watching the children chatter excitedly about the compost. I can't believe how much they've learned in just 2 days, he said quietly. Amara smiled. Humans are naturally curious. Give them guidance and they'll thrive. The conversation shifted to the idea of larger projects. Amara had been studying the land around the homestead and noticed a small depression that collected rainwater naturally. We could create a small pond here, she said, pointing to the depression. It would help water the crops and provide a habitat for small creatures. It's a way to improve the land without hurting it. Jace raised an eyebrow. A pond, that's ambitious, Amara nodded. It will take planning, but we can do it, and the children can help. Max's face lit up. I want to help. We can make little bridges and paths around it. Lily clapped her hands. And I can make a crown for the pond fairy, Ella giggled. I'll help with the plants around the pond, Jace laughed, feeling a warmth spread through him. He realized that Amara's presence was changing more than just the homestead. The children were learning to dream, to imagine, and to take care of their world. And he himself felt inspired in a way he hadn't in years. Over the next few days, they worked together on the pond project. They dug small trenches to guide water, arranged rocks to form natural edges, and planted native shrubs around it. Amara taught the children about the importance of observing nature, noting which plants grew best in the sun and which preferred shade. One afternoon, as they finished planting, a small group of curious animals appeared. A few creatures native to the planet, timid but fascinated by the humans' activity. Lily squealed in delight and Jace chuckled. Looks like we're making friends, too. Amara knelt to observe the creatures. This is perfect, she said softly. A little ecosystem forming right here. Jace felt a surge of pride, not just in the crops or the pond, but in the way the children were learning about life, care, and responsibility. He realized that the frontier wasn't just about survival, it was about growth, learning, and connection. One evening, as the family sat around the pond watching the sun set, Amara shared an idea. I've been thinking, she said. Your homestead has so much potential. With a few more innovations, you could create a system that not only feeds your family but helps the entire colony. Jace tilted his head, intrigued. The colony? Yes, Amara replied. Other settlers are facing similar challenges. If we can show them new ways to manage water, soil, and crops, it could make life easier for everyone. Jace felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. He had always been focused on survival for his own family. But the idea of helping others, sharing knowledge, and creating something that could benefit an entire community, it stirred something deep inside him. The next morning, they began preparing to document their work. Amara suggested taking notes, sketches, and even simple diagrams of the irrigation channels, compost piles, and pond layout. Max and Ella eagerly joined, while Lily drew colorful pictures of plants and little animals. As they worked, a neighboring settler approached, curious about the activity. "What are you building?" he asked. Jace hesitated but then smiled. "We're trying something new, improving crops, water flow, and creating a small pond. Want to help?" The settler's eyes lit up. "I've been struggling with my crops. I'd love to help." By the end of the day, they had not only worked on the homestead but shared ideas and practices with a new neighbor. Jace realized that human ingenuity, kindness, and collaboration could make life easier and more enjoyable, not just for his family but for the entire settlement. As night fell, the family sat together, exhausted but happy. Lily rested her head on Jace's shoulder. Max sketched plans for future improvements, and Ella carefully arranged stones around the pond. Jace leaned back, looking at the stars above the twin suns' fading light. "Tomorrow," he said softly, "we can try something new again. Maybe more plants or another little invention for the pond." Amara smiled. "I'll be there, and we'll keep learning together." Jace realized that life on this frontier planet wasn't just about survival. It was about growth, creativity, and the joy of discovery. And with Amara, the children, and even curious neighbors by his side, the possibilities were endless. For the first time in months, he felt not just hope, but excitement. The homestead was no longer just a place to survive. It was a place to dream, to create, and to share the wonders of life with others. As the night deepened, he whispered to the stars, "We can do this. Together, we can make life better." And somewhere across the plains, Amara looked at the same stars, thinking of the small family she had met, and smiled. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew that with human curiosity, ingenuity, and teamwork, even the harshest world could become a place of growth, friendship, and hope. The morning dawned pale and quiet over the red plains. Jace Thorne woke to the sound of wind whistling through the sparse shrubs and the soft chatter of his children outside. Max, Ella, and Lily were already busy at the homestead, tending to the pond and examining the irrigation channels they had built with Amara. The work they had done over the past few days had transformed the land. Even the smallest sprouts now seemed stronger, as if they knew they were part of something bigger. Jace stretched and rubbed his hands over his face. Today felt different. The winds were stronger than usual, carrying dust across the plains. He frowned, studying the sky. "Looks like a storm might be coming," he said quietly. Max looked up, concerned. "Will it hurt the plants, Dad?" Jace shook his head, though unease lingered. "It might, but we'll prepare and do what we can. That's all anyone can do." Amara appeared moments later, her steps steady despite the gusts of wind. She carried a small toolkit and a canvas tarp. "I thought we might need this," she said, holding it up. "Storms can hit fast out here. If we protect the crops and the pond, most of it should be fine." Jace nodded, feeling a mix of relief and anxiety. "Good thinking. Let's get started." Together they worked quickly. Amara showed the children how to secure the tarp over delicate plants, creating a makeshift greenhouse. Max and Ella helped anchor the corners with rocks, while Lily scattered small pebbles along the edges to keep the wind from lifting it. Jace worked alongside them, reinforcing the irrigation channels and checking the soil. Hours passed, and the storm began to arrive. The wind picked up, carrying dust and leaves in swirling currents. The sky darkened and clouds formed strange, billowing shapes under the twin suns' fading light. But Jace felt a strange calm. They had prepared well, and he knew that together they could face whatever came. Amara stayed close, guiding the children through each step. "Remember," she said, "water the plants carefully if rain comes. Too much can wash the soil away, too little can dry them out. We have to watch and adjust." Max and Ella nodded, determined to follow her instructions. Lily held onto Amara's hand tightly, eyes wide but trusting. Jace glanced at them and felt a surge of pride. The children were learning responsibility, observation, and patience, lessons that would stay with them long after the storm passed. The first drops of rain fell, soft and steady. Jace smiled. The storm wasn't violent, just a challenge to be met. As the rain increased, the makeshift tarp protected the tender plants, and the pond began to fill with fresh water. The children watched in fascination as tiny creatures emerged near the water's edge, taking advantage of the sudden rain. "This is amazing," Lily whispered. "The plants are drinking and the animals came out," Jace chuckled. "Life finds a way, pumpkin." "That's what makes this planet so special." Amara knelt by the pond, observing the water flow. "See how it collects here," she said. "We can adjust the channels slightly to make sure every row of crops gets enough water. Watch and help me." Max and Ella eagerly followed her instructions, moving small rocks to guide the flow. Even Lily joined, carefully tipping water from her little bucket into a shallow channel. Jace watched them, amazed at how quickly they adapted to the task. Hours passed and the storm began to fade. The winds subsided, leaving a calm, fresh scent in the air. The red plains glistened under a wet sheen, and the homestead looked brighter than ever. The pond had grown slightly, and the plants looked healthier from the added water. Amara smiled, brushing wet hair from her face. "You see, with careful planning and observation, we can manage the challenges this planet throws at us." Jace nodded, feeling a deep sense of accomplishment. "I never thought we could do all this in one day," he admitted. "But together, we made it work." The children beamed, proud of their contribution. They had learned more in one day than Jace could have taught them in a week of solo effort. He realized that life on this planet wasn't about facing challenges alone. It was about ingenuity, observation, and teamwork. As the sun began to set, a strange shimmer appeared in the soil near the pond. Jace crouched down to examine it. "What is this?" he murmured. Amara knelt beside him. "Looks like a mineral deposit," she said softly. "Rare. Could be valuable for energy production or construction. If we test it carefully, we might find a way to use it without disturbing the land too much." Max's eyes widened. "Wow. Does that mean we discovered something new?" Jace smiled. "It looks like it, but we have to be careful. Learning from it is more important than taking it." Over the next few days, they studied the mineral deposit. Amara guided the children in observing, noting its color, texture, and how it reacted with water. Jace recorded their findings in a notebook, realizing that this discovery could benefit the entire colony. One morning, as they worked near the deposit, a group of settlers arrived, curious about the activity. "What are you all doing?" one asked. Jace hesitated, then smiled. "We're testing a mineral deposit we found near the pond. It could help improve energy production for the colony. We're just observing and experimenting." The settlers' eyes widened. "Really? Could we learn too?" Amara nodded. "Of course. This is a chance for everyone to work together. Humans can achieve great things when we share knowledge and ideas." The settlers joined, learning how to take careful notes, measure the mineral, and consider its uses without harming the environment. Jace watched, feeling a deep sense of pride. His homestead had become a place of learning, creativity, and innovation. That evening, the family and settlers gathered by the pond, sharing stories and observations. The children proudly explained what they had learned about irrigation, compost, and pond ecosystems. Max spoke about how the channels helped water reach every plant. Ella described the new shrubs they had planted, and Lily showed her sketches of the little creatures near the pond. Amara smiled, watching Jace interact with the settlers. "You've done something incredible here," she said softly. "Not just with the land, but with people. You've shown that humans can solve problems together, even in difficult environments." Jace felt a lump in his throat. "It wasn't just me. The children, everyone helped. This place feels alive because we work together." The settlers nodded, inspired. "We want to try similar techniques in our homesteads," one said. "We can improve life for the whole colony." Jace realized that their small family project had grown into something much bigger. Human ingenuity, cooperation, and curiosity could transform not just a homestead, but an entire settlement. And it all began with simple kindness, a loaf of bread, and a willingness to work together. That night, as the twin suns set behind the red plains, the homestead glowed warmly. Jace tucked the children into bed, listening to their quiet whispers and soft breathing. He felt a deep sense of contentment. Life on this frontier planet was full of challenges, yes, but also endless possibilities. He went outside and sat on the porch with Amara. "I never imagined that helping a few plants and a pond could lead to this," he said. Amara smiled. "Sometimes the smallest steps lead to the biggest discoveries. Humans are good at adapting, learning, and creating solutions. That's why we thrive." Jace nodded, gazing at the stars above the twin suns' fading light. "I feel like this is just the beginning. There's so much more we can do together with the children and maybe even the whole colony." Amara rested her hand on his shoulder. "Yes, and with every step we learn more about ourselves and the world around us. Life may be challenging, but it's also full of opportunities if we're willing to look for them." Jace smiled. "Then let's see what tomorrow brings." And as the stars twinkled above the red plains, the homestead stood as a symbol of human resilience, ingenuity, and hope. The children slept peacefully, dreaming of new adventures, while Jace and Amara quietly planned the next steps in their journey, proving that even in the harshest environments, humans could not only survive but thrive, innovate, and inspire others. The morning sun rose over the red plains, casting a warm glow across the homestead. The air was calm, and the faint scent of damp soil and growing plants filled the space. Jace Thorne stood on the porch, sipping water from a tin cup, watching the children rush toward the pond with excitement. Today was special. It was the day they would present their work and discoveries to the entire colony. Max, Ella, and Lily were buzzing with energy. Max carried a small notebook filled with diagrams of irrigation channels and soil observations. Ella held a basket of seedlings from the pond area, and Lily had carefully decorated a small display of drawings showing plants, animals, and even little inventions they had made together. Jace felt a mix of pride and nervous anticipation. They had worked hard over the past days, turning a struggling homestead into a place of growth, learning, and creativity. The children had learned more than he could have imagined, and Amara's guidance had made all the difference. But today they would share their work with the colony, and that was a new challenge. Amara appeared at the edge of the homestead, carrying her toolkit and a few extra supplies. "Ready?" she asked, smiling. Jace nodded. "As ready as we'll ever be." The group began walking toward the colony center, where a gathering of settlers had already formed. Curious eyes followed them as they approached. Jace felt a small pang of nervousness, but he reminded himself that they had something valuable to share. When they reached the center, Amara stepped forward first. "Good morning, everyone," she said. "We want to show you some techniques that can help improve crop growth, water management, and even energy use on our planet. It's something we worked on together as a family and homestead." Jace watched as the settlers leaned in, intrigued. He took a deep breath and stepped forward. "We started small," he began. "Just our homestead, some crops, and a pond. But with careful observation, teamwork, and creativity, we discovered ways to make our land more productive and sustainable." Max and Ella eagerly presented their diagrams and sketches, explaining how irrigation channels distributed water evenly and how the compost helped the soil. Lily shyly showed her drawings of animals visiting the pond and colorful plants, making the settlers smile. One settler raised an eyebrow. "This really works," Jace nodded. "It does. It takes time and care, but humans can adapt and create solutions when we work together." Amara added, "We also discovered a small mineral deposit near our pond. It could be useful for energy or construction, but we're still studying it carefully. The point is, humans can solve challenges without harming the environment. Curiosity and teamwork can improve life for everyone." The settlers murmured among themselves, clearly inspired. Some asked questions, eager to learn. Others offered suggestions, and soon the group began discussing ideas, sharing knowledge, and planning how to implement similar techniques on their own homesteads. Jace felt a swell of pride. He had never imagined that a few days of work with the children could have such an impact. The homestead had become a center of learning, creativity, and collaboration, and the best part was that the children were at the heart of it. After the presentation, the group returned to the homestead. The children ran ahead, exploring the pond and checking on the crops. Max carefully examined the irrigation channels, adjusting small stones to improve water flow. Ella planted a new row of flowers along the pond's edge, and Lily giggled as a small creature cautiously approached her hand. Jace and Amara followed, smiling. "They've learned so much," Jace said softly. "Not just about farming or water, but about thinking, observing, and creating. I couldn't be prouder," Amara nodded. "And they've inspired others too. The colony will benefit from their ideas, and the children will carry these lessons forward for the rest of their lives." As the afternoon sun climbed higher, Jace thought about the journey that had brought them here. Just a few days ago, he had been struggling to care for 3 children alone, worried about survival and feeling isolated on the frontier. Now, with Amara's help and the children's energy and curiosity, they had transformed their homestead into something bigger, a place of growth, learning, and hope. He glanced at Amara, who was arranging tools and supplies near the pond. Her presence had been more than helpful, it had been inspiring. She had shown him that humans could thrive through cooperation, ingenuity, and kindness, and he realized that their partnership had become something more than friendship. "Jace," Amara said quietly, "I think we've done something special here, not just for your family but for everyone around us." He nodded, feeling warmth in his chest. "Yes, and I think we're just getting started." The children ran to him, laughing and shouting about new ideas for the pond and crops. Lily tugged on his hand. "Daddy, can we make a bridge over the pond next?" Max and Ella chimed in, suggesting plans for a small shelter for animals and a garden for new plants. Jace smiled, ruffling their hair. "Yes, we can. Tomorrow we'll start building it." As the sun set over the plains, casting long shadows across the homestead, Jace stood on the porch, looking at the thriving land and the smiling faces of his children. The pond reflected the warm light, and the crops swayed gently in the evening breeze. He felt a sense of accomplishment unlike any he had known. Amara joined him, handing him a small loaf of bread. "For all your hard work," she said with a smile. Jace took a bite, savoring the soft, warm texture. It reminded him of the day she had first arrived, carrying bread and a smile. That simple gesture had started a chain of events that had transformed their lives. "I never thought things could change so quickly," he said softly. "But with all of us working together, it feels like anything is possible." Amara nodded. "Humans are remarkable. We adapt, we learn, and we create solutions. That's why we thrive, even in places that seem impossible." Jace watched the children playing near the pond, their laughter carrying across the plains. He realized that this frontier world, which had once felt harsh and lonely, had become a place of possibility and growth. They had faced challenges, adapted, and discovered new ways to thrive, not through force, but through intelligence, creativity, and cooperation. The colony settlers continued to visit, learning from Jace and Amara's experiments. Ideas spread quickly, and soon, small homesteads across the plains were implementing similar techniques. Jace realized that what had started as a personal effort to care for his brother's children had grown into something that could improve life for an entire community. That evening, as stars began to sparkle above the twin suns' fading light, the family gathered by the pond. Max and Ella were discussing plans for a new garden area, while Lily decorated stones along the edge with bright flowers. Jace sat quietly, feeling a profound sense of peace. "Dad," Max said suddenly, "do you think we'll discover more things like the mineral deposit Jace smiled. I think we will. There's always something new to learn, something to improve. Life is full of discoveries if we pay attention and work together. Amara knelt beside them, and we'll discover them together. That's what makes humans special, our curiosity, creativity, and care for one another. Jace realized that she was right. Life on this frontier planet wasn't just about surviving. It was about learning, sharing, and inspiring others. And now, with the children by his side and Amara as a partner in both life and discovery, the possibilities felt endless. The children eventually grew tired and went inside to sleep. Jace stayed outside a while longer, gazing at the pond and the thriving crops. The homestead had changed, just as he had. The land was no longer a lonely struggle but a place of learning, joy, and growth. He thought about the journey that had brought them here, the accident that left him with a heavy responsibility, the arrival of Amara with her bread and kindness, and the children's curiosity and determination. Each step had been a challenge, but together they had turned it into opportunity. As the night deepened and the stars shone above, Jace felt a quiet certainty. Life could be difficult, unpredictable, and sometimes lonely, but with ingenuity, patience, and cooperation, humans could not only survive but thrive, create, and inspire others. Amara joined him on the porch looking out over the pond. "Ready for tomorrow?" she asked. Jace smiled, taking her hand. "Always. With all of us together, there's nothing we can't do." And as the twin suns set for the night, casting the plains in a soft, silvery glow, the homestead stood as a testament to human resilience, creativity, and hope. Jace, Amara, and the children had faced challenges, learned, and grown, and they knew that this was just the beginning of many new adventures, discoveries, and horizons to explore. Together they had proven that even on the most distant and difficult world, humans could not only survive, they could thrive, innovate.